can rob from you, so they can steal from you and from your family and from other people's families by saying, here, take this.
كن سعيدا كن فريدا عش بفخر في الحياة لا تبالي فالمعالي بالتحدي.
Yeah, come stand where you like. Come stand in. You stand in. I'm here with hi guys. I'm here with Lawrence. He's a young Christian guy. We're just going to talk about what is more relevant in the modern age, Islam or Christianity. Yeah. Sure. So do you want to start? Do you want to go first? Yeah. Why do you think Christianity is more relevant than Islam today? Because we're the youth, right? Even though I'm a bit older than you, but we're still like the young guys. Yeah. So go for it.
Are you sure you're older than me?
Yeah, I'm older than you. How old are you?
22.
I'm older than you.
Okay.
All right, come on.
I won't embarrass you.
Don't ask me how old I am. But I'm old. Go for it.
Yeah. Why is Christianity relevant today? I mean, I would say its relevance is throughout time, even preceding Christ. I mean, looking at the Old Testament, from a Christian perspective, they believed in the same God. And so when we think of God, that exists out of time is irrelevant. So to say, is God relevant 1,000 years ago or today, to me is a no-brainer. But for the sake of this discussion, yes, Jesus died, and personally, that's affected my life. You probably hear all the time, Jesus died for your sins, to take away the shame or whatever. Yeah, I believe that, but it doesn't stop there. I believe there's power to defeat sin, so I want it to affect the way I live, how I approach anyone in life, if they're whatever background, if they're Muslim like yourself. I want to treat you with respect. I mean, acknowledge our differences, but yeah, you know, we believe you're made in God's image, I'm made in God's image. There's no reason to put myself above you. Yeah. So I would say the Christian life is about humility. Humility and, you know, trying to serve others. I mean, it's not just within the church, it's about what can we offer to the world.
All right, so I would say that Islam is relevant for the modern age, right? Because if you look around on a Friday or Saturday night, you see people getting drunk, they're passed out on the floor, you see some of the highest sexual crime rates because of alcohol and stuff like that. Islam bans alcohol, but the Bible doesn't ban alcohol. You know what I mean? So especially in the modern age right now, where Islam is saying, hey, look, this legal drug which the government is saying you can take should be banned. If any other religion but Christianity, okay, this is the truth, if there was any other religion but Christianity that had alcohol legal, alcohol would be banned. Okay, just like how Rastafarians, they say weed is allowed for them, yeah, but it's banned, okay, because the government says it causes, you know, issues, mental issues or psychological issues, social issues, etc. So they banned it. But alcohol causes much more social issues and societal issues, but it's not been banned because it's a Christian drug. Yeah, okay. Also, then I would say that we see Islam bans interest. Islam does not allow interest. It does not allow exploitative economic practices. But in Christianity, it's allowed, because in the Bible it says, do not be a moneylender to your brother, but you can lend money to a foreigner. Yeah, so you can exploit foreigners, right? And so when we look today and we see the economic crisis that's engulfing the world and everything like this, it's because it's based on Christian economic principles. Okay, so Islamic economic principles are about looking after the poor. Okay, that's why we have zakah. All right, we have zakah. Okay, because that causes money to circulate in the economy. Okay, people can't hoard the money, but in the Christian economics, you have interest and inflation, okay, which benefit the rich, don't benefit the poor. Even though Jesus himself did not preach to take the money from the poor and give it to the rich, he preached to take the money from the rich and give it to the poor. Yeah. So if you look at the Islamic economic system compared to the Christian economic system, Islam is much more relevant than Christianity, because Christianity is causing poverty all over the world, not because of what Jesus taught, but because of what Paulians believe or Christians believe today. You know, in the prosperity gospel as well, in a way. You know what I mean? But yeah, go for it.
I mean, first of all, you mentioned alcohol.
Yeah.
The Christian perspective is moderation. I accept that is.
Can I say something? In Proverbs, it says, give the poor alcohol so they can forget their poverty. So it's basically saying, give the poor alcohol, let them forget their poor.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah, go for it.
Proverbs, the language used there is truisms. So
Sorry?
It's truisms.
What do you mean?
What I mean by that term is some supposed Solomon's observations on general life rules. I'm not going to deny it. I see people homeless on the street. I'm not saying people give them alcohol, but you often see alcohol in their hand. It's something we observe in culture. I'm not saying it's something we condone, but yes, it's recorded as a proverb, as a truism, as an observation of culture.
But it says that the rich should not drink the very alcoholic substances. They should refrain, and they should only drink the smaller alcoholic substances, which are not as clouded of the brain, so they can continue to rule over the poor and keep them in subservience. If you actually read a couple of paragraphs before it, that's what it says.
Yeah. Do you remember the proverb?
Yeah, I've got it on my phone. Sure.
Meanwhile, whilst I'm finding it, in Paul's letter...
It's Proverb 31:7. Yeah?
Yep.
Did you find it?
Yep, so verse 6, give strong drink to the one who is perishing, and wine to those in bitter distress. Let them drink and forget their poverty, and remember their misery no more.
And before it, it gives you the advice to the rich,
Yep.
to the princes, not to drink strong alcohol, but to refrain.
Oh yeah, verse 4.
Look, there's David Lynn. He came without his fanfare today. He just snuck into the park. Hold on. Sorry, man. I just want to let people see this guy.
Jesus had the presence of God in that womb. Jesus was born. The Son was given.
There, can you see him? He just snuck in. He didn't want people to know he was here. But yeah, right, sorry. Yeah, come on.
So verse 2, what are you doing, my son? What are you doing, son of my womb? What are you doing, son of my vows? Do not give your strength to women, your ways to those who destroy kings. It is not for kings, O Lemuel. It is not for kings to drink wine, or for rulers to take strong drink, lest they drink and forget what has been decreed and pervert the rights of all the afflicted. What I take from that about perverting the rights of the afflicted is kings don't drink because you'll forget the law, and you could look through history, look at Pharaoh of Egypt in history. He had no law to judge by. His law is whatever he...
Do you think it's better to ban something completely which is evil than to rather allow a little bit of it to be used?
So the Christian view is moderation. Paul writes, drink wine in moderation. He even advises to Timothy, drink some...
So exploit people in moderation as well.
No, I wouldn't draw that parallel.
Because it says in the Bible, remember, do not take... I've got the verses. It says also in the Bible, so you see in Exodus 2:25, it says, if you lend money to any of my people with you who is poor, you shall not be like a moneylender to him, and you shall not exact interest from him. Yes? But in Deuteronomy 23:19-20, it says, you shall not charge interest on loans to your brother. interest on money, interest on food, interest on anything that is lent for interest. You may charge a foreigner interest, but you may not charge your brother interest, that the Lord your God may bless you in all that you undertake in the land that you are entering to take possession of it. So, don't you think that there God is saying, you know, you can exploit foreigners, but don't exploit, you know, your countrymen? So you can exploit in moderation, right?
We've got to think about Old Covenant, New Covenant. In the Old Covenant, the command to Israel, as you can see there, was foreigners living amongst you, foreigners you're dealing with, yes, charge interest.
But who wrote the Old Testament?
Well, that book in particular, Deuteronomy?
No. Did God inspire the Old Testament?
Yeah, I'm not denying it.
So, and he also inspired the New Testament.
Yeah, fine.
So, and God was okay with people exploiting non-believers in the Old Testament.
You've got to think of the benefit.
And in the Proverbs is the Bible, isn't it?
Yeah.
So God is okay with also exploiting the poor by letting them be alcoholics and forgetting that they're poor.
Again, it's a truism, it's an observation.
Yeah.
Of what culture, not just them, but even now you see it.
So isn't it better to deal with the mechanisms that cause poverty and that cause people to turn to alcohol than rather than say just have some alcohol?
Yes, it is.
So if the Quran says that we can get rid of poverty, we can get rid of all of these things, yeah?
I'm sure.
By using zakat and using Islamic economics, wouldn't it be better to use Islamic economics and zakat and stuff like this to get rid of poverty than just to give people alcohol?
Well, it's a question of, I mean, just addressing that, it's about compulsion, isn't it?
What do you mean? Addiction to alcohol?
No, I mean, as in you're saying rich people give to poor.
Rich people give to poor?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how Islamic economics is meant to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rather than the poor giving to the rich, which is how economics works today, due to interest and inflation, which is not allowed in Islam, but it's allowed in Christianity.
I wouldn't say it's allowed in Christianity. It's
not allowed by Jesus, because Jesus threw the moneylenders out of the temple, right? But it's allowed by Christians.
Well, because we find it in Old Testament law.
No, because that's the system we have today, capitalism. That, you know, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, right?
Well, I see where you're going, and it's a fair assessment of, you see Christians do something, you see some Bible verses in the Old Testament, and you say that's how Christians are.
But isn't that the same standard that Christians use for Muslims when they say ISIS and stuff like that?
Yeah, they take some verses, they say, oh, they seem to be acting in accordance with this, and yeah.
But they're not.
I don't know, it's not good enough to...
So then I could say that these people are doing the right thing as well, aren't they, when they're going with this Christian doctrine of exploitation of the poorer people, because you can lend money to a foreigner, but you can't lend money to your countrymen. So you can exploit foreigners. And this is what the United States is doing all over the world, exploiting foreign countries.
I would say it's not what Jesus left us with, neither Paul, but I'm going to accept if you go back to Israel and you're taking your model from Israel, which nowhere God commands that, but if someone sees that as their Christian liberty to do that.
To do what? To exploit non-foreigners?
Yeah, to take Old Testament laws and do that. I wouldn't actually acknowledge them as a Christian brother, but, you know, it's...
So let's get this right. So the Bible is saying you can give alcohol to the poor, you can exploit the foreigners with interest, right? Whereas the Quran is saying get rid of these vices, get rid of interest, use charity and sadaqah to help the poor. So then I would say the Quran is more relevant, isn't it? Especially in the modern age when we're seeing all of this thing.
Look, we've just looked at the Old Testament. Let's look at Paul's letters where he says drunkards won't inherit.
Sorry?
Paul says drunkards, those addicted to alcohol.
But what has more precedence, the Bible or Paul's letters?
That's another question for me. But
because for us, the Quran has precedence over Hadith, right?
But Paul's letters are part of the Bible.
So then it's just more contradictory things. Because if in parts of it God is saying, give the poor people alcohol, so let them forget their poverty, but then Paul is writing, oh, the drunkard person will not enter paradise.
It's not contradictory, I'm sorry. Again, it's an observation of culture, it's not condoning it, it's saying poor people usually drink alcohol to forget their sorrows.
So why are they poor though? Because they've been exploited by the rich.
people are born into poverty.
Yeah, but why are people born into poverty?
There'll always be rich and poor.
No, no. There's exploitation of the rich. There's exploitation of the poor by the rich.
Yeah, so
That's why Islam, yes, Islam does not allow, if you have Islamic economics, you cannot have interest or inflation. Interest is a tax on the poor by the rich, okay, of giving them money, right? Inflation is another type of tax where it lowers the value of your money.
I'm not sure about that.
It is.
Let's think about I make to you a loan and I
Yeah.
charge interest.
Yeah.
The means,
Where's that extra money coming from?
well, it's the money I'm charging you because
No. This is how it works. Okay, you need to first understand the principles of money. Okay, you need to first understand the principles of money.
can I respond after?
First understand the principles of money. If I, let's say there's a million, all the wealth in the world combined is worth 1 million, right? You lend me 5 million.
Yeah.
Yep. All the wealth in the world is only 1 million. Yes? Okay? You have lent it to me in $1 bills. Yeah? So each $1 is worth one of that 1 million. Yeah? 0.001% of that 1 million. So now if you ask me and say to me, oh, I want 200,000 back, I have to print an extra 200,000 banknotes because those banknotes didn't exist in the first place. And if all the wealth in the world is only worth 1 million, now because there's 1.2 million, that's inflation because when it was $1 was originally worth 1, now it's lost 0.2% of its value because there's now 200,000 extra banknotes, but no wealth has actually been created and money has just been created. Do you understand? So that's how interest and inflation work. They just create money without actually creating wealth. And when you have the money, the wealth loses its value because the money has no real value and it's only backing the wealth.
And that's why they took away the gold standard.
That's why they took away the gold standard, okay? Because they were going bankrupt because they couldn't afford to pay the gold. America, anyway, was going bankrupt. They couldn't afford it, so they took away the gold standard and then they started invading Muslim countries and assassinating Muslim leaders. Yeah?
In the name of Christianity.
Yeah. Hold on 1 second. Let me just check this recording. Yeah, that guy who's started touching our camera. There you go.
I mean, if you want to have this conversation another week again.
No, I'm cool. Yeah, but go on.
My answer to that would be, say I make to you.
Yeah.
The time I don't have my money,
Yep.
it's costing me.
What do you mean?
I don't have my money to spend.
Yeah, but
You have it.
no. But in Islamic economics, you'd be investing it. It'd be counted as an investment.
But I don't get a return on that investment.
No, you would.
I get my money back. But
Yeah, so you're
with my-
guaranteed to get your money back, regardless of if I succeeded or if I did not succeed, right? Where that's how capitalism, interest banking works, right? Islamically, you're not guaranteed that, okay? Because God is saying to you, you have to take chances in these sort of things. There's no guarantees in life. As soon as you try to guarantee something in life with, if I lend you 1,000, you got to give it back to me, irregardless, even if you're on your deathbed and you're coughing blood up everywhere, you got to give me that £1,000 back, or if you don't, I'm going to take you home. Is that very Christian?
It's just.
It's just. So there's a guy, he's coughing up blood, he can't afford to pay you back that £1,000, you're going to take away his home, kick him out on the street, that's justice.
We shouldn't have borrowed the money in the first place.
Islamically, we would have said, allow the loan.
Or you just forgive.
Forgive, keep it, don't worry about it, bro. God will sort me out when I get upstairs.
No one will pay it on his behalf.
No one will pay on his behalf.
If the world weren't like that, I'm sorry, we'll be in trouble.
Why would we be in trouble?
Because there's no motivation there to pay back loans or even make loans in the first place.
But there is, because God has said if you don't pay back the loans that you took, you'll get punished.
Yeah, but you're assuming that everyone would believe in what you're believing. And that's the assumption of Christianity in the past as well. They thought, we'll Christianize a whole belief in God and they'll all act in accordance. When that's not the reality.
But you see, once you put the system in place, people cannot, people can create their own systems, right? Just like how we have capitalism, and we have the dollar, and we have the pound. We also now have other currencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum, which people have created their own money, without governments, without banks, yeah? So in that same fashion, we can make our own money. We Muslims, we can make our own system. We can make our own money, and we don't need to participate in this capitalist system anymore. And if we Muslims pulled out of this capitalist system, the United States economy would collapse.
It probably would.
Yeah, because you know the United States, it only exports two things: weapons and services. That's all the American economy is based on: war and services, like Facebook, Instagram, Oracle, Microsoft, and other sorts of electronic-based services. That's it. And the only other industry that it actually has is weapons industry. That's it. That's all the industry it has. So the United States needs war to survive. Right? And this is why they're saying Muslims are terrorists and why they're attacking Muslims and Islam. Because without this, the United States economy would collapse. It's already on the brink of collapse. It was going to collapse in the late 70s when King Faisal of Saudi Arabia, he stopped oil exportation. Okay? And then he was assassinated a little while later. All right, and this is also in the 70s, the American government, well, not American government, but in America they set up the Trilateral Commission, which was, a group of wealthy industrialists who are going to get together and they're going to try and change the economic standard of the world. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, I see where you're coming from as, you see America as an example of Christian economics.
America is Christian economics.
Many,
if you actually ask them what capitalism is, they will say it's Christian economics.
Yeah, it was made by Christians, but there's plenty of Christians who disagree, and you get Christians.
Of course they are. They're socialists. They would agree more closer to Islamic economics. Assalamu alaikum, bro. So they would agree a lot more with Islamic economics than Christian economics. They actually want Muslim banking. They want Muslim finance. A lot of the Christian people, they actually want Islamic finance and Islamic banking.
Yeah.
Do you know why? Because it goes with what Jesus taught. Not what Paul taught, but with what Jesus taught when he threw the moneylenders out.
I have to say, Paul's quite silent on how to manage money in that context. I mean, other than what Jesus teaches, it's mainly going back to the Old Testament.
No, but there's parts of the Bible that we could say that Paul wrote or edited or wherever.
Depends who you're willing to reference.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to give you any references of the Bible because I'm not like a Bible scholar. I'm more into economics and business practices and things like this. That's why when I'm working, to try and see which is better. So from my perspective and from any person's perspective who actually understands how money is made and how the world's economic system functions, then Islamic economics trumps Christian economics, which is capitalism. Because the woman on the street who has to prostitute herself, is that due to capitalism?
In some cases, yes. I wouldn't say in all cases.
It is totally due to capitalism.
So you would say in the case of drug addiction, it's due to capitalism?
Yeah, it is. Why are they selling you drugs?
Well, drugs are available in the first place.
No, to make money, profit. Free market economics. This is the black market economics. And you know what? I'm not saying that drugs should be legalized, but drugs, a lot of drugs were actually legal. Heroin was legal, cocaine was legal, weed was legal, LSD was legal. And the only reason these drugs were made illegal in the United States was because white women were taking these drugs and hanging out with black guys. It's called the Jim Crow era. Look it up. Jim Crow laws.
I'm sure in some cases that was...
That's literally the reason why these drugs were made illegal. Because they've even said it themselves, these rich white guys sitting there, they said it themselves, how dare these be, take our women and be whatever, blah, 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 yeah? And the reason for it was because white women were going to opium dens, hanging out with Chinese guys smoking opium. They were going, to hang out with black guys smoking weed, or Mexicans smoking weed, whatnot. But if the white housewife, this is the truth, it's the truth, bro. It's the truth. It's Jim Crow era. But if the housewife was chilling in a yard, snorting some lines of cocaine, it was all right. But as soon as she started hanging out with people of color, it became an issue. That's the only reason drugs were made illegal. And the government doesn't care if you do drugs. They just want you to do their drugs. That's why alcohol is legal, because, Christian principles. Tobacco is also legal because the government makes money off of it. And now, they're legalizing marijuana. But the reason marijuana was made illegal was because of the hemp industry. Hemp and stuff that can replace a lot of cotton products and all these other things. And so, it wasn't even to do with people getting high. It was just capitalism, pure, unadulterated capitalism.
I mean, in relation to the Christian perspective in Peter's first letter is to submit to every authority.
Yeah.
To the point at which it contradicts the Christian faith. So if you were to put to me, should a Christian submit to your view of economics? There's actually no reason I see why we couldn't employ that. But at the same time, where it contradicts the Christian faith.
It doesn't. It says give charity. That's sadaqah.
I'm not saying it does, but to the point where
it's saying do not exploit the poor. That's what Jesus taught. It's saying give the money to the poor. That's what Jesus taught. Yeah. It's saying to the rich, give the money to the poor and come follow me, which is what Jesus taught. Yeah. It's saying get rid of the money lenders. That's what Jesus taught.
Let's just go to the rich man who's asked to give away all his goods.
Yeah, go for it. I've given away a lot of my money.
The problem in his life was idolatry of money. You see it in the commands.
And it's happening today with a lot of Muslims. They don't even realise it, but they're worshipping money.
I mean, it's not just Muslim, it's across the world.
Yeah, of course it is across the world.
It's just common to mankind.
Exactly. A lot of people have made money their god.
But that's not to say every rich person holds money as...
No, I'm not talking about in that fashion. When I'm saying that you made money your god, I mean you're not even willing to look at other alternatives than that money that you have currently being forced to use. So that way, when God has said to us in the Quran, you know, this type of economics is haram, this type of money is haram, yes, and Muslims are still using that type of economics and they're still using that type of money when they could be using other alternatives, then they're worshipping that money rather than worshipping God. That's what I'm saying. That's what I said.
So
okay?
Where would you draw the line and say someone isn't practicing Islam in the way it should be practiced in terms of money?
Well,
where would you draw the line?
You see, in Islam we have... Watch the camera. Well, you see, in Islam we have certain principles. These are major sins, okay? So one of those major sins is riba, which is usury, interest. So God has said that this major sin is like publicly having sex with your mother at least 30 times, all right? And some scholars have said that if you have an alternative that will allow you to escape fiat currency, the paper money, and interest and usury-based economics, and you do not take that alternative, then you are a kafir. Some scholars have even gone as far as saying that if you do not help actively participate in building an Islamic economic system, you're a kafir. Okay? And the reason why they've said this is because you do not believe that what God has given is just and is more powerful than what mankind has created. Do you understand? I personally, I won't say those things because it's not my duty to say you're an unbeliever or you're not an unbeliever, you know what I mean? But some scholars have said that you could say the duty on Muslims to build an Islamic economic system is so great that if they do not do it or do not help to do it, they could be classified as kafirs. This is not my opinion, yeah, because, you know, I believe, okay, so a lot of people, they're not educated about how money is made. They're not educated about capitalism and Islamic economics, you know. But it's their duty as Muslims to get educated, because, you know, on Yom Al-Qiyamah, you know, that's part of God, He's going to ask Muslims. He's going to say, why didn't you go learn? What were you doing the whole time you were on earth? What, partying all day long? You know, I'm being, you know, well, blasé, but, you know, literally, and then, you know, God, you know, and God's not going to accept your excuses. Oh, I couldn't be bothered, or I didn't know this, I didn't know that. You know, God created you to learn your religion, or to learn what's out there, to learn what's going on in the world. So ignorance is not an excuse in Islam. You know what I mean?
I could understand that, and you see some Christian parallels in being a good steward of your money. But then again, what I see there is you're acknowledging that it's subjective, but then you're saying the Quran speaks objectively.
Sorry, what do you mean?
That there is objective truth in the Quran that Muslims ought to follow.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a reality of there's some subjectivism, because you have to tackle the reality of you see some Muslims act in a particular way.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's ignorance.
Exactly. See, the problem with Muslims is, right, a lot of them, they think they know everything.
Yeah.
Yeah? And when you try and give them a little bit of advice, they don't want to take it. It's because they know everything. you know, and that is the issue with some Muslims. Not all Muslims, some Muslims, and those ones are very vocal. The ones who want to take your advice and they'll listen to you wherever, they're not running around screaming and shouting or wherever. The ones who think they know everything, they're the ones driving around, killing innocent people, murdering innocent people, you know, wherever. And, you know, I won't even classify them as, you know, I don't want to say too much on that subject because, you know, I don't want to be doing like takfir or anybody, but I don't really, you know, support any of that ideology. I don't agree with any of the things they say or do. As far as I'm concerned, they are dogs of hellfire, basically, you know, they're going to hell. You know, these crazy people killing innocent people, whatever, doing this, doing that, whatever. If they actually cared about Islam and Muslims, you know, it's very easy to help Islam and to help Muslims, and that is via Islamic economics, yeah? Because once Muslims have their own money and their own economic system, no one can touch them, no one can mess with them, you know what I mean? Just like no one can mess with Bitcoin, no one can mess with Facebook or Google, no one can mess with Muslims once they have their own money and their own economic system. Right now, Muslims don't have their own money. Even though we might have riyals or rupees or dinars, etc., we don't actually have our own money because all of this money is linked to dollars. It's not linked to a halal system or a halal standard or a halal method. You know what I mean? So Muslims, we don't have our own money. All the money we have is haram. All the money Muslims have is haram. Any country that has interest or inflation has haram money. Central banking is not allowed in Islam, where banks just print money. See, like let's say if you wanted an investment, like, you know, you said, oh, if I lend you money on interest, that's an investment for myself. How it works for Muslims, right, is there would be a bank, okay? You would give the bank the money. The bank would invest that in projects for you. So if it was maybe build a hospital, they would build a hospital for you, and then you would receive dividends back from that investment. And then, you know, when you took your money out of the bank, that would, you know, take your money away as well. You know what I mean? From the investment that you did. Also, obviously, your investment will go up as well. But, you know, once you've taken your money out, your investment has gone. As long as that money's in the bank and they can carry on investing in other projects for you, they'll carry on investing in other projects for you. But sometimes you will lose that money. It's not guaranteed. You know, in Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying life is not guaranteed. Okay? The only thing in life that is true is death and taxes. Yeah? But, you know, people want to make other things true as well and guarantee other things and force other things on people. You know, like interest. You have to pay that interest back. If you don't, I'm going to take your house away. I'm going to throw your family out in the streets. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that.
You don't believe in collateral, haven't you? No,
we don't. That's not allowed in Islam. In Islam, it'll be like, okay, you need 100 quid? Is it a personal loan? Yeah, okay, here's 100 quid personal loan. Yeah? You want to pay me back when you can afford it. So, if you can't afford it, then I'll wipe it clean for you and God will give me that reward. Yes? On the afterlife. But there's another type of loan as well. This is like an investment loan. You want to open a business. So rather than me give you, I don't know, 100 grand, and then in the future you pay me back 100 grand plus interest, that 100 grand would be considered an investment in your business. So I would get dividends back on that, you know, profit back on that. And if your business fails, then I lost that money. But then it's my responsibility to also do due diligence on you and your business and your proposal, etc. It's not like I'm walking around willy-nilly just saying, here, take that money, here, take that money, here, take that money, throwing this money away. Do you know what I mean? You obviously got to use a bit of your intelligence as well. Do you know what I mean? But personal loans, that's a different issue. Take here, you can have this money, here you can have this money, here you can have this money. That's on a personal loan level, right? But on an investment level, you have to do your due diligence. You know what I mean? Because that's how the banks would make their money back under Islamic principles.
And just a quick question. So it's very trusting in respect of you're lending someone money and you're trusting that they'll be honest about their financial situation.
Now, you'll see it, obviously. You're not going to be like, whatever.
Yeah, but sometimes people's word doesn't line up.
Yeah, but people lie all the time, don't they? Even right now, when this whole banking system collapse happened, that was all because they gave people money who couldn't afford to pay it back.
So where would you discipline someone who can obviously make the payment but is refusing?
Who can obviously make the payment but is refusing? The state would legislate against them, wouldn't they? To pay the money back in a civil court. Because Muslims, we have civil courts. Do you know what I mean?
And with interest?
No interest.
But they would have to...
They'd probably fine them or something.
Okay.
You know what I mean? There'd be no interest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or if let's say I lent you 100 grand and you, as an investment in your business, and your business has been making money, you'd have to pay me back all the money that your business has made, which was my share. You know what I mean? Because you refused. There was no interest. Because interest is making money from nothing. Do you understand? Do you understand what that is? Making money from nothing.
Yeah, you're starting with nothing and you're printing more money.
Yes. So when you print more money, the money you originally had loses its value, right? Right? Because the more there is of something, the less valuable it becomes. If you're printing money by not creating wealth, you're creating inflation. Yes. If you're creating wealth by not printing money, it's deflation, because the wealth is increasing, but the money is not increasing. The money supply is not increasing, so it's deflationary. But we don't live in deflationary because we're not creating wealth. We're just printing money, and that's why every year you lose how much money you can spend or buy. Do you know what I mean? So then, like again, which is more relevant? Is the Christian system more relevant, or is the Islamic system more relevant? Where the Islamic system is saying get rid of these vices, get rid of these evils, and then giving you an alternative, whereas capitalism is not giving you no alternatives. It's just saying Darwinist principles. If you're ill, if you're sick, you can't afford it. If you're weak, we can walk all over you. We can take everything that you have.
I mean, going off that, the NHS was founded on supposedly Christian principles. I mean, I would say, yes, there's Christians who believe strongly in capitalism at the expense of other countries. But at the same time, there's others who've arrived at a different conclusion. So when you look at text, it's good to look at the context, what God had purpose for Israel, and what he purposes for the church today.
Yeah.
The church isn't a nation of people in such dealing with whole countries and whatnot. So to take principles from Exodus, Deuteronomy and fit it today, as a Christian, I wouldn't do that in good conscience before God. And at the same time, I acknowledge.
No, but the alcohol is in the Bible part, isn't it? In the Proverbs. Give the poor booze, get them drunk, allow them, they're drunk. Let them worry about their own things, because they're drunk, they don't need to stress.
Elsewhere in Proverbs,
so it's contradictory.
It's an observation,
So we'll let you finish and then I'll finish.
No, go on. Finish.
Sorry?
Finish.
You finish? Well, I was basically going to say, the self-evidence, right? When you look at interest and inflation and how they destroy society, because, these things, they trickles down. Why is someone now drinking? They got poor. Why did they get poor? Because the bank robbed them. Who gave the bank permission to rob them? The Bible.
The poor have always been around. The poor will always be around.
The poor will always be around.
Yeah,
then doesn't it say in the Bible that the meek and the poor shall inherit the earth?
Yeah.
So, and once they've inherited the earth, will they still be poor?
Well, let's think about inheriting earth.
Yeah, that means you've taken the riches of the earth.
No, it's talking about the second comment, so...
Oh, is that what it's talking about?
Well, inherit the earth as in God's kingdom, as in new creation.
Oh, so earth, the God's kingdom will be on earth.
So it's an acceptance of...
Is that what seven... Isn't that like Jehovah's Witness sort of ideology? As some have, they'll be raptured and whatever. Do you believe that heaven will come on earth?
Heaven is heaven. There's a heavenly Jerusalem and stuff. Yeah, earth will still be inhabited. The bridge will be gapped, but God will still reside in heaven. We'll be able to be with God and on earth. I mean, Jesus himself said the poor will always be among you, which is not condoning don't give to the poor, but it's an acceptance that mankind as a whole is sinful, greed is prevalent.
Islam does not believe there will be poverty forever.
No.
We'll come to one stage when poverty will be eradicated, and there'll be so much wealth around that people in this Muslim world. At one stage, there used to be a time where people used to have so much wealth, not money. Money and wealth are two separate issues. You should remember this, yeah. But people used to have so much wealth.
We're talking actual wealth, like gold.
We're talking no, because you see, remember, like I explained to you earlier, you can just create money. You can just create money, but you're not really creating wealth. Wealth and money are two separate issues, yes? So in the Muslim world, there was a time when there was so much wealth because Muslims were using Islamic economic principles that people would tie bundles of money to the tree and say, here's the money, I could not find anyone to give it to, so I left it on this tree. If there's a poor person who goes by, take this money. And that money would be there for months on end, bro. Yeah.
What time frame was this?
This was during the Ottoman period, just prior to the Ottoman period, and in the Ottoman period as well. But this is how it was. So in Andalusia, in Spain, at stage, they were so wealthy, bro, that they just chilled. And that's what caused their downfall, because they became complacent over there. They became so rich and so wealthy that they became lazy. You know, and that caused their downfall. Not because of anything else, because when the Spanish invited the Muslims to actually come there, you know that, because they were being prosecuted and stuff, and so they couldn't take it. And so the Spanish invited the Muslims to come and back them and look after them and keep an eye on them. And then when the Muslims were done, they said, no, don't go, stay. And then the Muslims took over Spain. Because I can't remember if it was the Catholics doing it to the Protestants and the Jews, or the Protestants doing it to the Catholic or the Jews. I think it was the Catholics doing it to the Protestant and the Jews, and so they told the Muslims, please come and help us out. And trust me, bro, if you actually want to see, just look at it. If you actually want to see, because you see people, they can sit around and they can argue that, look, this God, you know, this person said this 1,500 years ago, or this person said this 2,000 years ago. But maths doesn't lie. Maths doesn't lie. So when you take Islamic economic principles, which is maths-based, really, when you think about it, and you compare it to capitalist principles, which is Christianity-based, Islamic principles wins out. It's due to maths.
I mean, my only issue is you're counting on the trustworthiness of people.
You do that every day. When you walk out your house, you're counting on the trustworthiness of people. But in actual fact, what you're actually doing is you're putting your faith in God. You're putting your faith in Allah. You know what I mean? To protect you, to look after you. Because nothing happens without Allah's will anyway. Us here having a conversation would not be without the permission of Allah. You know what I mean?
From your perspective, yeah, I understand. My view of mankind is too bleak for me to believe that that is possible.
It is possible.
Or even the Christian.
It is possible. Shall I tell you why it's possible? We have the internet.
Yep.
The internet allows people to communicate.
Yep.
We don't need permission of a government or the permission of a bank or a country or anyone to do what we want to do. What we have to do is just create the platforms for ourselves. And once we create these platforms for ourselves, we can do what we like. No one can stop us. The only thing that can stop Muslims from creating an Islamic economic system in the modern day is other Muslims. No one else can stop them. You have to remember this. Christians can't stop them. America can't stop them. No one can stop them. Sorry?
Let's look at the case of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Have governments not tried to have legislation about
Yeah, or to legalize it. So because now Bitcoin is legal, it's opened the door for Muslims to just take over everything. Do you know why? What is Bitcoin at its basic level? What is it?
It's a digital currency.
It's just data that people trade. Yeah? So any data that people trade can now become currency. On that first thing principle, right, which is in physics, where you take everything down to its first base principles. So when you take Bitcoin to its first base principles, it's just data. So any type of data that people create and are allowed to trade between themselves can become money. So Muslims can very easily create a halal digital currency for themselves, because Muslims, they can't have money that does not have real value.
I mean, I acknowledge that, but do you see the limitation in terms of you must have access to the internet controlled by capitalists at the moment?
Sorry?
You must have access to the internet controlled by capitalists at the moment.
No, because you can store it on your phone offline. But let's just say,
how would you then transfer it?
There's methods that you can use. There's methods. I don't want to go into that too much, but there are certain methods that you could actually use. You know what I mean? You can do like time checks and stuff like this. You know what I mean? And you can burn it on one wallet and then allow it on the other wallet. And on the first wallet it's been burnt, they will never have access to it because it was done offline. Even if it was done offline, that money was burnt and it was sent offline over Wi-Fi or something, whatever. It doesn't really matter. You know, because as long as you're next to each other, you can do it. Yeah. Okay, but that's the same argument can be applied to what's it called? Let's say the banks shut down, the internet shuts down, wherever. How are you going to use your bank card? How are you going to get money out of the cash point? Do you know that paper money you're holding is just a token? It has no real value. It's just a token. It's a voucher. Yeah, it's a voucher. Yeah. So, you know, people have created these vouchers so they can rob from you, so they can steal from you and from your family and from other people's families. by saying, here, take this paper, give us your hard work, your sweat, all that work and effort that you did, and take this piece of paper in advance. See, you've got a notebook in there, yeah? If I took a page out of that and I wrote, in God we trust, and I gave it to you, would you say it's money? So why would you accept the pound and the dollar as money?
That's a good question. I mean, it used to be redeemable for gold, but not anymore.
Yeah. So at that stage, it was halal for Muslims. Yeah, but now it's haram. It's extreme haram for Muslims. It's extreme haram. They don't even... Seriously, Muslims really knew, right, or even actually pondered even for 1 second how haram this is. No Muslim would ever touch a dollar or a pound ever again. Because God has said, you know, you're going to take war with me and my messenger on the Yawm al-Qiyamah, on the Day of Judgment. God is going to go to war with those who ate interest and riba. Yeah, paper money. God is going to go to war with them. So do you want to be on the side of people that God goes to war with?
I'd have to say my perspective is different.
No, from Islamic perspective. I'm asking you, let's say you pretend, hypothetically, if you're a Muslim, right, would you want to be there where someone, God is going to go to war with you on Judgment Day?
If I was in your shoes, no.
You wouldn't, would you? No. So you would try and do everything to get out of that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
If you were a good Muslim, right?
Yeah, if I was you.
Yeah. All right, cool, bro. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum, guys. I'd just like to thank Syed for putting my videos on his channel.
ريض يا الطارش يا لمعنا خط بكتابك بترحيبك لو سرابك ليلك وجنة بالدجا في الليل تسريبك
واسأل عنا له منا قل علماء